This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Back here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1. Matt Hatfield here with you. At this time, we're joined by a special guest. She's part of the broadcast team with Westwood 1, bringing you the Super Bowl coverage tomorrow right here on ESPN Radio 94.1 with Kevin Harlan, the Hall of Famer Kurt Warner, and one of the sideline reporters alongside the former All-Pro offensive lineman Tony Biselli. We got Laura Okmin with us here. Laura, thank you for making some time for us.
Hi, Matthew. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
How's the weather down there in the Sunshine State treating you?
Well, under the heading of 2020, even though it's 2021, I am actually not even getting to Tampa till tomorrow because everything we've been doing has been virtual all week. So under the heading of yet another crazy week to this crazy year, I will be getting there tomorrow and looking forward to it.
Gotcha.
But it's virtual. I mean, it's been crazy.
Sure. Now, there was a story in The Athletic this week documenting the bond that you and Jason Pierre-Paul have over shared trauma. If you could share with the audience some of that for those who are unfamiliar and just how remarkable it is that JPP, the lone Pro Bowl selection on this Bucs team, followed up a terrific regular season with arguably an even better playoff run.
Yeah, it's just he's so incredible and so inspirational, not just after, really destroying his hand in 2015 on the 4th of July when a firework blew up in his hand. So he has been overcoming that, losing a finger, losing part of another finger, and really having to completely figure out how to do his job a different way. But also before the 2019 season, got into a car wreck, had a fractured vertebrae. So Jason Pierre-Paul has gone through a lot. And so to be at a Pro Bowl level, to be playing in a Super Bowl, another Super Bowl, has been pretty magnificent and pretty meaningful to him. And I'm really fortunate. My game that I had in 2015, it happened to be the game that Jason was making his return. And I didn't know him. And I knew that I was going to I knew a big part of my day for the game was going to be talking about how he was overcoming and how he was changing his game. And I was warned he doesn't do a lot of talking, kind of to himself, and wasn't really yet opening up about what happened. And it was right. He walked into the room, and I watched him right away take his right hand and put it under the desk. So I couldn't even look at it while we were talking. And he didn't say anything emotional or anything feeling-wise. He just told us what had happened. And then I followed him out of the room, and I did something that normally you don't do as a reporter. Normally I didn't do back then. I just said, can I share something with you? And I had lost a finger, or most of my finger, when I was a little girl, and I had never talked about it, and I was always very embarrassed of it, and went my whole life trying to hide it. And so I was very aware when he put his hand under the table what he was doing, because that was my life, even though it's hard for me to even say that because one finger is not comparable to what he had gone through with his hand. But I showed him my finger, and we started talking about it and started talking about the embarrassment of it and hiding it, and not just about how he was going to change the way he played football, but how he was struggling buttoning his shirt and buttoning his jeans and all the things that was changing in his life. And I had covered him a lot that year after that connection outside. And we went from talking about the fear he had, would he ever play at any, at a good level again, little on the Pro Bowl level, and how was he going to do it, to him learning from that finger and teaching from that finger and being really proud of it and showing it to people. And I just know at the very beginning, after that first game that we had together, we had our secret handshake. And whenever we saw each other, we would always flip each other off with our bad fingers. And it was very awkward for people who did not know what we were doing. It was very unprofessional. But it went from just kind of this secret little handshake to, after the NFC Championship game this year, I took a picture of Jason and I that we took in 2016. We just took a selfie together and we flipped off the camera. And I, in a million years, never thought I would post it. I never thought I would show my finger. But I posted it and had a few reporters reach out to ask if they could do the story, including Lindsey Jones from The Athletic. And it's incredible because I was so, I couldn't believe I was talking about it, and I couldn't believe I was going to show the finger. But Matthew, all week people have sent me pictures of the fingers and pictures of body parts that have been cut off, and Jason and I call our fingers our nubs. And so people, saying, I want to join the Nub Club. And it's been a week of incredible stories and incredible people saying that either they hadn't shown somebody and wanted to show it, or they were proud of it and wanted me to be proud of mine. And none of that would have happened if I hadn't met Jason Pierre-Paul and been inspired by him. So usually as a reporter, we're used to using somebody else's story to inspire other people. And in this case, I was really, really fortunate that it happened to be inspiring me.
It's an amazing story. We're joined by one of the best in the business on the sideline. That is Laura Okmin, who will be working Westwood One's coverage of Super Bowl 55. It's 757 Saturday Sports Talk here on ESPN Radio 94.1. And one of the main cruxes of the job there, Laura, as you know, is as a sideline reporter telling us about injuries and the weather. How much do you see? And there's a myriad of players that have either missed practice, limited in practice this week, and so forth. How much do you see the health and availability of some of these players being a real determining factor in this ball game, as well as the weather with some rain potentially in the forecast?
Let me start with the weather because that is my obsession as a reporter, because I need to know how it's going to affect the games, but also as a reporter who's going to be sitting outside in the elements. I have a professional personal rooting interest in weather constantly. And as of yesterday, I would have said to you it didn't look good. It looked like it was going to be rain constant from the morning, possible thunder showers, to rain the entire day and night. And I don't so much look at the rain because it's what I've always learned over the years is unless it's a torrential downpour, the rain, there's neither team is going to have an advantage. They're both dealing with the same rain, and there's not much you can do about it.
Right.
You assume maybe if it's harder rain, then we know we're going to see more of a running game. But the wind is always where I look, and usually what coaches or kickers will always say to me is if it's a double-digit wind, it makes a difference. So if it's anything below that, I don't start thinking it's going to affect the game. And it was looking like we were going to have some wind gusts of about 30 miles per hour, which is huge if there is some rain. But I say all of that to say a few minutes before I got on this call, I looked again, and as of now, that front, it is Florida, so that front moves constantly. And it looks now like we might have a dry Super Bowl. We might get rid of the rain in the morning. So that would be wonderful. And injury-wise, I think at this moment, knock on wood, because I want everyone healthy, but with the exception of the players who we already knew earlier this week or last week weren't going to be playing, as of now, there's nobody that is a game time that we are really hanging on. Antonio Brown has been limited in practice. And the guys who we have been going, okay, will they play? They are practicing even in a limited way, so we know they'll see some time. But as of now, knock on wood, between injuries and between recent injuries and between weather, it doesn't look like those two are going to have huge effects. Now, how does it affect the Chiefs? Because neither of their starting tackles are in the offensive line. Now, that's a different conversation, but they knew that already this week, so they've been practicing that.
Okay, good deal. Last two for you, Laura, and I appreciate the time here. You've been speaking with the players and coaches on both sides. The Chiefs, we know they're the defending champs, but 5 of the last 6 playoff games, they've trailed by 9 or more. Is that a concern for Andy Reid and his bunch, or is he encouraged by the fact they scored 17 in that opening quarter back on November 29th in the game they held on to win 27-24 over the Bucs?
I think neither team is looking too much at that game. And I've talked to both head coaches and players about that, because we all do that, right? Like as soon as the Super Bowl set, we go, okay, well, did they face each other? Yes, that was 9 weeks ago, and that was week 12, and we dig through all those stats to see, what that game was. And I really asked, how much do you guys take in that? And everybody said not a lot, because Tampa was a different team back then. So that was their third straight loss. They got down 17-0, but that being said, they also fought back and wound up losing by a field goal. But Tom said after that game, they still hadn't found their offensive identity yet. They still hadn't found that rhythm yet. And so since that game, they had a bye week, and then they reeled off 7 straight wins. So when the Chiefs look at that offense, they know that is not the same offense we faced. And I talked to Tyrann Mathieu yesterday, and Tyrann said, that looks like New England Patriots, Tom Brady. It looks like he finally has familiarity and the comfort with his receivers, that he's getting the ball to them and trusting them to make the plays. And what Jason Pierre-Paul told me was, I was 60%. He said, my knee was awful. I was sluggish. We were sluggish. He said, we are not going to take that for granted, that we're not coming out that way. So it'll be very interesting having that front 7 feeling really healthy against Patrick Mahomes. And on the flip side, Tyrann Mathieu also told me, the fact that they let them come back in. And I said, what happened? And he said, I think we forgot we were facing Tom Brady. And he said, I think that was a big lesson for us to remember that we've got to play 5 quarters. He said, I know there's 4, but it's going to come down to the last possession. And that's why I'm hopeful that there's no weather and no other key injuries, because this has all the makings of an outstanding game. And I hope it just winds up being 2 terrific teams going at it, so we don't have to worry about weather or anything else.
Oh, it really does. And great stuff. Last one here, Laura. Every Super Bowl has its fair share of storylines, subplots, twists and turns, and there are endless matchups of the game within the game. Any particular matchup you're most intrigued by in this one?
I think that one. I really think that pass rush. I think just that D-line and really Jason Pierre-Paul, going against Patrick Mahomes. I think it was so different last time they faced, and they are feeling themselves. That Bucs defense is just clicking and feeling so fresh and feeling so good. And I think they're going to be really different than the last time the Chiefs faced them. So I'm really looking forward to that and seeing if they can get more pressure, not just on Patrick, but Tyreek Hill went crazy. It was over 200 yards in that first quarter, and they shut him down the final 3. But are they going to? I don't think they're going to put him one-on-one anymore. I think they learned from that first quarter. But can they shut him down? Can they shut the receivers down to make Patrick move a little bit in the pocket? And can they get to him? And like everybody, I'm looking forward to seeing if they can.
Well, our friends at Westwood One will bring us Super Bowl coverage wall to wall tomorrow here on ESPN Radio 94.1 as Laura Okmin, part of that team, giving the broadcast with the Chiefs and the Bucs. Laura, thanks so much for coming on the program. We'll definitely be watching and listening and enjoy the game, and safe travels to you. All right.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.